Hey everybody, welcome back to the Planeswalker Coach channel. I'm your host Paladin Robin. Folks, today we're taking a look at the new set that we have. This set is Tarkir Dragonstorm, and you know what, I kind of like to do these videos as soon as the set launches or a little while thereafter, as soon as I get a chance to look at all these cards. So I'm going to be making a series for this new set, and I am going to be taking a look at the top 10 cards of each rarity. And this is the first video where we're looking at the top 10 cards that I've handpicked for you folks from the masterpieces of Tarkir Dragonstorm. Okay, so these cards are coming out in no particular order. Let's get to it. Here is the first one, Temple of the Dragon Queen. It's a land card. When this support enters the board, convert 4 gems to the most present color on the board. At the beginning of your turn, convert 4 gems to the most present color on the board. Then, if you behold a dragon, the first dragon card in your hand gains full mana. So this is a new thing that we have for our set. This is Behold a Dragon. It says you can behold by owning a card either in play or in your hand that shares the subtype specified on this card. So really what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure you have a dragon card either in play or in your hand. And if you do, you're going to be able to basically get a free dragon. And the reason for that is obviously you're going to get the first card that's a dragon card in your hand will gain full mana. So this is a really good one. I like this one with Sarkhan. I think you're going to see that. There's kind of a theme obviously with Dragonstorm in the name, right? Dragon is a creature type that we're going to see a lot in this set. And I really do like this card here with Sarkhan. Sarkhan 1 is a really good one for just dragons in general. So this one is going to be something that you'll see probably in the future in some videos that I'll put together with that particular Planeswalker. Alright, let's get on to the second one. Mana Geyser. Convert X gems to red. X is the greatest mana cost among cards that your opponent controls. So this is another one that I think is nice. I would like to play this obviously in a lot of good decks that have the capacity to just launch all kinds of cards one after the other. You can probably build some nice, really effective loop decks with this. I would try to make sure I maybe pair this with blue, because blue is really good with doing a lot of the draw. And when you put this together with some draw aspects, and yeah, if your opponent has some good favorable cards, you're gonna be able to put a nice loop together, and then hopefully be able to convert that into wins. So yeah, Mana Geyser, I think there's a really high ceiling on this. I think there's going to be some really good things that can be put together if you can just figure out how to get the rest of the artifacts or other cards that you may need. If you can get those things going. But really cool card here. Alright, here's the next one, Will of the Temur. Spell card. Choose one of these two options when you play. It says option A is create a copy of a random non-token creature card you control in your hand. That card gains full mana. Option B is draw 3 cards, then gain X mana. X is the greatest mana cost among the cards that you control, up to 15. For me, I think there are times where you could use either of these, but just on the face value, I think option A is going to have more flexibility. You're going to be able to probably use that in a few more different play styles, and I think that's a really good one. You are able to get another creature, basically one of the ones that you have already, make a copy of that. And I think the hard part here is that you're going to have to create a copy at random, so you're not going to be able to choose which one you want. However, there's ways to get around that, right? Like maybe you can play it in a deck where you only have one creature, or maybe you play it in a deck where you only have one creature out at a specific time, and then you use this one to reinforce it. Maybe something like Galta would be good with this. Cool stuff here. Let's take a look at the next card. Shinko and Narset Unified. This is an interesting one here. This one almost didn't make the list, but I do think that this is a good one. This one does have some flexibility and some use to it. This is a human spirit dragon creature. Alignment blue, create a copy of a random non-token card you control and play, then draw a card. If that card is not a blue card, it gains full mana. So you get to see some interesting things here with the not a blue card piece. Obviously you're going to want to have some blue here so you can trigger the alignment aspect of this card. Alignment, for those of you that are probably newer, not familiar with this, alignment will trigger whenever you cast a card that has only the one color as its color. So for this one, if you cast a mono blue card, then you're going to be able to hit this ability. That's going to be the trigger there. So you're going to want to have some mono blues for this. On the other side of the coin, you don't really want to have a ton of mono blue, because if you have some of those and they are the ones that you draw, it clearly says here then that you're not going to gain full mana, right? If that card is not a blue card, it gains full mana. So in this way, you kind of have that split, that divide, but you know what? It's still a good card. I think you're going to have some strategy when you play this one. You're going to have to plan ahead, but if you can do that, you're going to be able to be successful with this card. Okay, here's the next one, Aligned Heart. 13 is the cost. This is a support card. Here's another interesting one, and I think we see this throughout the set. This is what I'm referring to when I say interesting. Clearly it's a white card here, but it benefits you if you have some red stuff going on. Okay, so I'll kind of get into that, but that's a little bit of a weird mechanic here. I think it's going to give you guys some things to play with, some ways to tinker with it, but I think it's a very interesting combination in one particular card. Anyway, let's get to what this thing does. When this support enters the board, your red cards gain 10 mana. Alignment red, increase this card's level by 1, then create a Jeskai Monk token and reinforce it X times. X is this card's level. If you hit the alignment red, as we talked about, alignment is triggered when you cast a card that only has that one color. So if you cast a card that only has red, then you're going to be able to trigger this. But it's an interesting thing because you're going to have to play it with a planeswalker with white and red. Obviously this is white here, and you're going to want to hit those single red, those mono red cards. If you get those mono red cards, yeah, you're going to be able to trigger this. So very interesting. I think there are going to be some really good decks that come out and kind of use this one here. So I'm excited to see what you guys do with those. All right, here's the next one, Will of the Sultai. Here is another one of those cards where you have two options. You can pick one. It's a spell card for 13. Option A is destroy the top 4 cards of your library, then return the first 3 land cards with base cost 12 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield under your control. I think that's an interesting part of the card. I think the better part here that's got more flexibility, that's got more appeal for me, is option B. Option B says target creature gets +X and gains trample. X is the sum of the shields of all land supports you can control. X is the sum of the shields of all land supports you control. So I think option B here is the better use for this card, and obviously you're going to want to put it in decks where there's a lot of land supports that will help you to get a lot of shields together and then really make this XX something worthwhile. And one thing that I really do like is that it's a permanent buff, so you can kind of keep that in mind when you play this and really play it several times in a game, and you're going to be able to keep that permanent buff and make your strong creatures even stronger. Alright, let's take a look at the next one, Diviner of Mist. It's a dragon creature for 12, 4/5. When this creature attacks, destroy the top 6 cards of your library, then return the first spell card with mana value of 12 or less from your graveyard to your hand. That card will gain full mana. So this is another good one, I think. This one's got more value, I think, especially because you're not only going to get this one when it enters the battlefield kind of thing. This one will trigger this ability when this creature attacks, as you can read. And really, that's such a cool thing because you're going to be able to do this every single turn that it attacks. And I'm kind of thinking of some of those cards that have 12 or less for the casting cost, right? There are a few spells out there that I do like that will help you to kind of win games if you can launch them turn after turn after turn. And in a deck that probably has only that spell, or maybe that spell and another spell, where you can kind of control what you're going to get when you pull this one here and you play it, I think that's going to be very, very effective. I would play this one obviously with spells like that or limited spells. That's a good way to look at it. Okay, here's the next one, Exotic Orchard. For 10, you get a land that's got 6 shields on it. Already, as you kind of look at this, it pairs with a card that I showed you a little bit earlier because it's got a lot of shields and it's a land. You guys can rewind the video and kind of go take a look there. But this one I like as a standalone card as well. You can see here it says at the beginning of your turn, gain X mana. X is this card's level. Then this card's level becomes 5. When your opponent's planeswalker converts gems, increase this card's level by 1. So this one obviously is going to be good against Galta. Your opponent plays Galta, they'll convert gems. You'll be able to boost this thing up by 1. Once that level gets higher and higher and higher on your turn, that's just going to be something that's really, really good. If your opponent doesn't play cards like that, but you still decide you want to play this one, that's a totally legit way to do this. Obviously, you're still going to gain the mana. You're going to gain 5, and really that's a cool thing, right? Because this thing only costs 10. If you're gaining 5 at the beginning of each turn, then really it's going to pay for itself in a couple of turns, and really after that it's just profit. So really cool. Here's the next one I like, Expressive Iteration for 9. It's a spell card. Pick one of the first 3 cards from your library, fetch that card, then exile the others. Convert X gems to one of the colors of your greatest mana bonuses. X is the number of different non-land cards in your exile. So I think this is a really good one. Obviously, spells that allow you to convert definitely have some good use. I think this one especially because you're going to be able to convert hopefully a lot of gems just throwing this one over and over and over. And then really that's going to help you to probably put some loops together where you're able to get some things going really quickly. So this one is an interesting one. I can't wait to pull that one. Okay, here is the last one for the video today. Dragonstorm Render. For 10, you get an Orc Warrior. That's a 3/3. When another creature you control dies, if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw a card. That card gains half its mana rounded down. Otherwise, your opponent loses 3 life. So what I think about this is I think that it's a really interesting card, especially because you have this ability here, Mobilize. Mobilize says at the beginning of the combat on your turn, create a Mardu Warrior token and reinforce it X times. X is this card's Mobilize value. With Mardu Warriors, what you'll notice is that they'll come into play and then they will leave play. They'll be destroyed at the end of your turn. So you can kind of see that that's going to be something that really does help. It kind of triggers itself here. Obviously, when another creature you control dies, if you have 5 or less, then you can gain a card in your hand that has half of its mana. And those Mardu Warriors will leave the play, will leave the battlefield every single turn to trigger this thing here. So really cool. It kind of works on itself. It does that, and it just gets you all the cards that you want really, really quickly. I think this is going to be one that's going to help you to really build some speed into some decks. So very cool. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out the rest of the videos in this series where I take a look at Tarkir, Dragonstorm, and kind of help you guys understand what are the best cards here. Anyway, that's it for me. Like and subscribe. Share with all your friends. It really helps the channel. Good gaming, guys.